Eu se choro. I damn it.
1, 2, 3. Harold and Brad, Windy City filmmakers. Harold and Brad, Windy City filmmakers. Harold and Brad. Da, 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 da.
Hey, where you at, James, New York?
Yeah, I'm in Jersey.
Jersey. All right, Here we go. Another episode of Harold and Brad, Windy City filmmakers in the house. Today we got a special guest, our brother, been knowing this dude for a minute, Mr. James T. Alfred from Chicago, currently living where, dude?
I am in New Jersey. I live in Newark, New Jersey. Downtown Newark, New Jersey. I got to specify that. Because you say Newark, people be doing crazy, thinking you up. It got some rough parts of Newark, man. So,
Right.
But I live downtown Newark, 4 blocks from Penn Station.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, you know where you're from. What kind of art do you create, man?
Hold on. Make sure I got this going on right.
Okay, cool.
Can y'all still hear me?
We can still hear you, yeah.
Click it if you want to switch to it. You said, what kind of art do I like to create?
Yeah, what kind of artist are you?
What kind of artist am I? No artist at the time. Okay. Right now, ain't got no art to make. I'm basically a practitioner in the theater and film and television industry.
Right.
That's, I guess, the form of art that I make, but the kind of artist that I like to consider myself to be is one that creates art with a social intent behind it.
Nice.
With some sort of intent behind it, something that can move people forward,
right.
Get people to thinking more than just going trying to escape for a couple hours, but something that moves you. I mean, that's the kind of artist that I guess I became by default, because I got into the arts by seeing an August Wilson play.
Right.
And never having seen anything like that, that kind of celebration of Black life that was so profound. I had never seen anything like that before, something that can entertain you as well as really it's probing. And
you remember what August Wilson play it was?
Yeah, it was 1998. I saw the late great Marion McClinton's production of August Wilson's Jitney.
Okay.
At the Goodman Theater.
Nice. Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, and that was in that production directed by Marion. You had Anthony Chisholm, Steve McKinley Henderson, Shabaka, Russell Hornsby.
Okay.
Brianna McCole White, and I think it was Willis Burks played film, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's take it all the way back from the beginning. Tell us about getting started in the business. Where were you and how did you start?
Well, we all, the three of us, have a common common genesis with that and inroad with that. After I saw that play in 98, that kind of solidified it for me. But I really started looking at this, taking even an interest in art, theater, film, and television and all that as something to do back in 1990, probably 96. I did my first play, which was Romeo and Juliet, at the Des Plaines Theater Guild in Des Plaines, Illinois.
How did you find that out there, being from the South Side?
Well, it was really interesting because I was a corporate guy, and I knew my aspirations of playing professional basketball had pretty much were unachieved, and it wasn't going to happen. And I just started thinking. I knew after being in corporate America for about 2 months, 3 months, that wasn't gonna work. I I don't know how these people get up and come here every day. It does make a difference when you're getting a big ass paycheck. Sometimes that's motivating, but for the most part, I couldn't see it myself just getting up, going in that office, doing what I was doing for 40 years. And I knew that, like I said, the first couple of weeks, I said, this ain't gonna work. And it sounds so cliche. I was having a water cooler conversation with a temp worker. I'll never forget it. And unfortunately, I forget her name, but I never forget her face. And we start just talking about aspirations and dreams and stuff that we would do if we weren't doing this. And I told her that, I thought about maybe possibly getting into acting, and that I had done a couple of little skits and stuff over the summer with a lady named Linnell Morgan. She had a summer program where she would take kids. She used to do a youth program at the YWCA in Chicago over on Drexel. But she started doing this out of her home in the summer. And rewinding a little bit. So in 8th grade, I was selected to do the oratory competition and represent my school, Andrew Carnegie, and the oratory competition. And I wanted to do it because I used to see this girl named Celestine. She used to always win this big trophy every year. She'd go and kill it every year. And I wanted the trophy. I wanted the trophy. And Miss Podell, Charlotte Podell, asked me if I could read a few passages of a poem called Renegade by Robert Hayden, and then Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. Yes. She had me read those poems, and then she asked if I would be interested in representing the school in the District 14 speech competition. And I said, yeah. I said, that's the same thing that Celeste did when she won the big trophy. She said, yeah. And I did it, and I won first place in District 14, and then placed in the region. And after that, that was the extent of it. But Miss Podell introduced me to Miss Morgan. Now, my 4th grade teacher, who was also my 7th grade teacher, Miss Leslie Barron, she always knew that I should be in the theater. Even when I was playing basketball, she used to always say, boy, you need to leave that basketball alone and get your butt on somebody's stage. And she was right. And that's kind of, I guess she would be responsible for putting the bug in my ear. No doubt. But Miss Podell, Miss Morgan would come, and she would put these little talent shows and work with some kids in the school. And she introduced her to me, and she gave me a scholarship to her little summer program. And I did a scene from Romeo and Juliet at the end of the year. The summer will culminate in us. We're putting on a fashion show. We made little arts and crafts. We displayed that around the room, and then we would do these little scenes, and that was the extent of it. But when that lady asked me what would I do at the water cooler in the office, and she said, well, I got a friend of mine. He's a director, and he's doing a production of Romeo and Juliet out in Des Plaines at the Des Plaines Theater. I said, I don't live far from Des Plaines. And she said, I'll call him and set up and see if I can get you an audition. Nice. And I went and auditioned and got the part of Tybalt. Cool. And I know it's a kind of a long, roundabout way.
That's what's up, man. You know what? I was thinking, my man, when we first met on the set of The Negotiator back in the day. They were like, we were extras, right? And you were just standing in line, and we struck up a conversation, right? And then, I don't know, did you take class at ETA? No,
man. Listen, when I did the Des Plaines Theater Guild thing, there was one performance. We were doing the scene between Tybalt and Mercutio. Right. And we were fighting with these foils, and the thing broke. Yeah. And so I just turned and looked at the guy who was on stage with me, who was a page. And I said, go and fetch me a rapier, boy. And he turned and ran and got the thing. And I got it. And then we finished the fight. Of course, I got to kill Mercutio. I got to stab him so he can die for the whole play to keep going. And I'm coming off stage, and the director he's running in backstage, and he's like, "Oh my God, thank you! There was great instincts you saved the show." Well, then after he said, "You ever thought about doing this professionally?" And I said, we'll see. I don't know. I didn't know how do you. So funny. I'm talking to you about this because I was just talking to another colleague of ours about working in this business. And I was saying to myself, I don't know, what does that mean doing this as a profession? How do you make a living being an actor? And so after I did that show, I did then the next one after that I did John Merrick. I auditioned for John Merrick to play the Elephant Man.
Okay.
And I did that all at the Displays Theater Guild. And then they asked me to come back to do Little Shop of Horrors. They needed somebody to operate the plant.
Right.
So I did that. And then I went to see a play at ETA. I saw China Colston and Rolando Boyce in this play called and I just thought, and I thought Rolando was a phenomenal, just a fascinating actor, man.
Right.
And I saw him in that, and I saw the show, and I was like, man, I'd never really seen, I don't even remember how I got to see that play. I think I started getting interested in theater and wanted to, to see how people were doing it in the city. Because I'm displaying, this was community theater. So I saw that show, and then I got one more show out there called To Kill a Mockingbird at the Bog Theater, right on Main Street, down in Des Plaines. Still there, I think. Right. But I wanted to come to the city, and I auditioned for a production of Fences.
Nice.
By August Wilson, with Rudolph Monroe directed it. Rudy Monroe at the Douglas Park Cultural Center.
Okay.
Where I played Lions. But I wanted to come, I started reading Perform Inc. and stuff like that, and the little publication that they used to put out in Chicago. I don't know if they still do it, but it was out where you tell you about all the auditions and
right.
who's doing what. And I started reading that. But it was something about coming to the city and doing plays. I saw a play at the Chicago Theater Company. And I said, man, how do these guys get the chance to do this? And then I saw August Wilson's Jitney, and that just fucked me up. I said, I'm done. I got to do that. I didn't know, it wasn't even I wanted to do theater. I said, I want to do that. I want to do Black stuff that celebrates Black people in America. And particularly, I want to do his plays. I want to be on stage where they got cars and costumes you ain't got to bring yourself. And you show up and the sets didn't shake when you close the door. I mean, I just wanted to be a part of something, something really great.
Right.
I thought it was great at the time. And
my bad. What do you love? Like, one thing I love about August, I love Shakespeare. You mentioned Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. I love August Wilson. One thing I love about them both is the language is so beautiful. The language is so powerful. August Wilson, the characters just sometimes they just talk and talk and talk, but it's filled with a lot of images and just beautiful language and the conveying the message. What do you love about August Wilson and his work and his writing?
Well, what you just mentioned about the language, beyond the poetry of it, the heft and the power and the strength that he conveys of our people, the strength of our people, women in particular, Black women in particular, that he conveys in his work. This man has been able to capture the essence of the stolen African, unlike any other person, any other writer in our time.
Right.
We've had some great ones too. We've had Philip Hayes Dean, Ed Bullins. August wasn't the only one.
Right.
But he was the first and the one to, I would say, to capture the essence of Black people and sustain that and have the opportunity to sustain that for over a cycle where he chronicles our experience here over 100 years.
Yeah.
And it seems that he had given us dignity.
August would lift ordinary people to extraordinary heights. And that's what really blew my mind when I saw the production 98 was that these are all men that I recognize. You know, the neighborhood, alcoholic, the wino, the gossiper, the young couple trying to find love. You know, he all these people that you normally wouldn't see on stage. You know, usually like you said, you would go see Shakespeare where you got kings and queens, and we listen to stories about kings and queens. Well, August elevated those people to that status.
Right.
Gave them dignity, gave them humanity. They were multi-dimensional. They weren't, the only theater I had seen at the time were the plays that they would take us in elementary school to go see during student matinees, and they were usually some about the Underground Railroad or something like that. But these plays showed men.
No doubt.
Yeah, in a manner that I hadn't seen before.
Right. So, like, you also done like a lot of television, and people may recognize you from the studio. The guy who runs the studio on Empire. Now, point being is that how do you go about developing a backstory? Because even though he's in and out, I like the sense that he has a sense. You bring a sense of depth to the character. So, how do you go about developing a backstory for a character that may have a seemingly small part, but still is central to the storytelling?
Well, that comes with just an artist developing their craft and
right.
Being a person that takes pride in craft. You know, there are people that just want to, they show up the same way every time,
right?
Because they're just doing the part because they're on TV. But when you have an opportunity to develop a character, I welcome it because it's a gift. You know, a lot of times especially in television, you get characters that most of them are just, they're facilitators. They just facilitate the movement of the story, the progression of the story. And they get one or two lines. And my character didn't have a lot of times to say, but who he was in relation to the lead characters of Cookie and Lucius, and how his link to her and her affinity for her son Jamal, and bring all that. So going through all that and understanding, to trying to see who this guy is, you take the time and really start thinking of how you can make him interesting for whatever the 10, 15, 30 seconds, you're going to be seen, right, without doing too much. You know, a lot of times you can get on something, you don't get much to say, and you do too much because you want to be seen. You want somebody to say, "Oh, look at that guy."
Right.
But that's the job. When you hire to do those parts, you're there just to serve the story, just to facilitate the story and keep it moving for them. You're there to service them. But one thing I like to say about that particular situation was John Singleton really helped that, because I didn't know what was going on with that guy at first,
right,
or what their intent was. But, the way he shot it and the way we talked about it, he's like, man, this guy's kind of like a superhero. When you see him, when you first see him, he's going to be like a superhero, so that kind of helped me say, all right, he's what we established was he's not a gangster, but he's not, he ain't nobody to be, played with, nobody to be fucked with. He gonna hold his own, but at the same time, he mind his business. He about getting that bread. He want to get paper. You want to come in, record your little shit. He's like the guy in our business. He's like the janitor in theater. When you're up there you want to spend some time on the stage, or not even a janitor, a tech guy. You want to spend some time on the stage to try to get your footing, or walk around the set, he's the guy that's like, hey man, you got to hurry up because we need to clean this shit up.
You were, that character was obviously an ally to Lucius and Cookie, and it's a reoccurring character. So was there something that you possibly did to cause that to be a reoccurring character?
No, man. You in this business is so it's so fickle. That was supposed to be a one-off, and I didn't even want to take the audition because I felt like, what kind of mileage am I going to get out of showing up and saying this, this couple words, and I didn't want to burn myself up, as we call it. I didn't want to get used up if the series is going to be around for 6 years on that one little 2 or 3 line appearance. But because it was John Singleton, who I admired and respected, I just wanted to get in front of him. But it was supposed to be a one-off. And I think because of the way they established the character, they felt that they could use him to move the story along. As you saw throughout the 6 seasons, he would show up maybe 2 episodes a season. And one season he didn't show up at all. Right. Or 2 seasons he didn't show up at all. So, it is nothing that somebody will say, oh yeah, when I walked in there, man, and it was supposed to be one day, one line. And they saw me just do a hell of a job, and I just killed it, and they had to keep me around. Yeah. That shit don't work like that.
Right. Were there some little unique things that you did in discovering the character that you personally brought to the show, to the performance?
Yeah, truth. I mean, just being honest, and like I said, and not trying to do too much. You get people to show up on these jobs, man, and you ain't got but 2 lines, but you want to say the 2 lines in such a way,
no doubt,
that you really in the way. And usually when you do that, your scene usually gets cut.
No doubt.
I showed up and just was trying to be as honest as possibly can.
You'll see sure. I damn it.
Ooh la la. Yes.